We are seeing an outpouring of rage and grief in London over the murder of 33-year-old Sarah Everard and the fear that women across the country live with every day. Thousands of people packed into this public square, the same part of town where Everard was last seen. She disappeared while walking home at night and was later found dead. A Metropolitan police officer has been charged with her murder and kidnapping. And for women in the UK and all over the world, Everard's murder is proof that the fear they live with is real. The fear of simply walking down the street or across Clapham Common, as it is here, as women knowing you're not safe. Well, earlier, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, made a private trip to Everard's memorial. Here she is seen in this green jacket. A source tells us she wanted to pay her respects to Sarah and her family, and that she remembers what it felt like to walk around London at night before she was married. But not long after the crowds gathered, police broke up the vigil, citing coronavirus dangers. There were clashes, as you can see here, as police handcuffed and dragged mourners away. The police response is outraging government officials and civilians alike. For women mourning a murder victim, though, at a vigil, being pushed around by police is an ironic reminder of the misogyny and violence they say they face every day. Well, here's Nina DeSantos with that.
They came to remember a young woman whose life was cruelly cut short, only to be wrenched from their vigil by officers from the very force where her suspected killer served. The death of 33-year-old Sarah Everard while walking home one night has plunged Britain into a moment of reckoning on women's rights and safety.
Essentially, women have a curfew now. Yeah. As soon as it gets dark out, you either have to be with someone or you have to be home.
We're fed up of having to worry all the time and not feel safe. And this has just proven our fears to be true.
Sarah vanished on March the 3rd whilst walking home from one residential part of the capital to another at around 9 p.m. Her remains were found last week, nearly 60 miles away, and a serving London Metropolitan police officer has been charged in connection with her death.
What shocks so many is both the randomness of what happened to Sarah and the relatability of the circumstances under which she disappeared. She was last seen walking along this busy street in South London after having been to visit a friend who lived nearby. It wasn't particularly late, and this isn't a particularly dangerous area.
The vigil for Sarah had been organised by women in the neighbourhood where she vanished, but was cancelled due to COVID regulations. Yet thousands still came. Their aim to...
Yo, what's good, y'all? What's going on, y'all? I hope you guys are paying close attention to this story, but I'll continue with this video.
To reclaim women's rights to walk where they want, when they want, without fear.
While maybe abduction from randomers is not as common as being said, being groped on a bus is, being yelled at is, being followed home is, and those are things that need to change, because just because not all the stories end in tragedy doesn't mean they're not worth telling.
On Twitter, women shared their stories.
I can vividly remember getting harassed by a man who tried to assault me when I was 18.
On my walk home, a man in a car pulled up next to me to tell me I had...
When I was 13, a man followed me and my friend down an alley and flashed us for walking trying to intimidate.
I was the most afraid of it.
Vanessa Knoll, Tracy Kidd, Nellie Mustafa.
In Parliament, one lawmaker shared the names of women who were killed in the UK this year. Among them, 6 who perished the same week Sarah went missing. For David Challen, who campaigned to overturn his mother's sentence for killing his abusive father, there's a lot men in Britain can do to better understand and aid women's plight.
It's time for misogyny to be recognised as a hate crime. You know, these are offensive acts on a sliding scale that creates harm and violence and trauma for women throughout their lives. They all have it in common, and men are blind to it.
What's up, Coolin? What's up, Jizzle? What's up, Sir Yahoo? But I'm gonna pause this video for a minute. Coolin, that is a good point that you made. You said this is all man shaming. They are doing the same thing on Reddit. Yeah, in a way, it is man shaming because this issue is a police It is a police assault issue or a police violence issue or an issue in which a police have violated, or police officer violated his own authority and murdered a civilian. So this is not really a man and woman issue or a gender issue. This situation, in my opinion, is a police and civilian issue. But the media, with the help of the mainstream media, they're turning this murder of Sarah Everard into an issue of sex and women's rights. And I guess that manipulation is working, because this is striking off this a big outcry amongst the women in England, as amongst the women in England, since you see that they're outside protesting and having a vigil and just going crazy, talking about the abuse that women face in England. So this issue is being incorporated with the violation of women's rights in England, which is why I tell you this is one more reason that feminism isn't dead. And the reason why I'm saying that is because right now there's this belief out there that in the United States a bill is passed called the Equal Protection or the Equal Rights Act, something like, what is it called? The Equality Act. It's called the Equality Act, where, and it's not a bill that just passed, it's actually a bill that's trying to get passed in Congress, which bars discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and what have you in public places. And people believe that this bill, if it gets passed, is going to destroy feminism. And I'm telling you, that's not going to happen. And this is one reason why feminism won't be destroyed. 2010. Nu, what's the point of you? What's up, Nu? What's up, by the way? What is the significance of you writing 2010? What is the significance of that? I'm just asking. I just want to know. But I'll continue playing this video.
The scenes of police arresting masked women holding a vigil despite COVID rules sparked anger nationwide, and politicians from all sides demanded an explanation. The Met said they hadn't wanted to act.
But we were placed in this position because of the overriding need to protect people's safety.
Sarah Everard's family said their daughter was beautiful and bright, a shining example to us all. In the senseless tragedy of her death, many hope her memory may guide the way for other women towards a safer path home in the future and away from scenes like these. Nina Dos Santos, CNN, London.
And as Nina reported there, London Metropolitan Police are defending their actions at this vigil. Take a listen.
Officers on the ground were faced with a very difficult decision. Hundreds of people were tightly packed together, posing a very real risk of easily transmitting COVID-19. Police must act for people's safety. This is the only responsible thing to do.
But London Mayor Sadiq Khan says the police response is, quote, unacceptable, tweeting the police have a responsibility to enforce COVID laws. But from images I've seen, it's clear the response was at times neither appropriate nor proportionate. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sent condolences to Sarah Everard's family. He tweeted, I cannot imagine how unbearable their pain and grief is. We must work fast to find all the answers to this horrifying crime. I will do everything I can to make sure the streets are safe and ensure women and girls do not face harassment or abuse. And Mr. Johnson said he lit a candle for Sarah with his fiancée and that he would be thinking of her and her family and friends.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. Nah, no, I'm not talking about that. The one that passed in 2010. I'm speaking of a new act that's actually being read in Congress right now. Yeah, hold on. You guys hold on for a minute. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hold up. All right, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Yo, Wadner. Okay, Wadner, can you stick to the topic, please? Can you stick to the topic? Don't. I'm not. Listen, right now I'm in the mood to speak about the actual topic of discussion. All right. Okay. Yeah, the Equality Act. Okay, that's what I mean. The Equality Act, which is HR 5. HR 5, like Sir Badiahu posted in the chat. HR 5, the 117th Congress, 2021 to 2022, the Equality Act. That's what I meant. Yeah. So yeah. Sarah Everard, as you guys just saw on the video, was a 33-year-old female in England who was missing ever since March 3rd, 2021, and her dead body was recently found, and a police officer is accused of having something to do with her murder. So with that, I'm going to actually screenshot the article, an article relating to the topic, and it's written by the New York Times. Was from the New York Times, but it's written by, what's the name of the editor who wrote? Elian Peltier. Well, or Elian Peltier. That's the editor who wrote it. So the title is British police officer charged with murder in killing of Sarah Everard. The disappearance of the marketing executive had touched off a national outcry against gender violence. The officer was also charged late Friday with kidnapping. A police officer was charged late Friday with kidnapping and murdering Sarah Everard, a marketing executive who went missing in South London last week and whose disappearance had touched off a national outcry over violence against women. The Metropolitan Police said that the officer, Wayne Cousins, 48, whose primary role was patrolling diplomatic premises, would appear in court on Saturday to face the charges. A body that was found this week in a wooded area in southeast England was definitively identified as Ms. Everard's earlier on Friday, ending days of uncertainty. In just days, her case had come to symbolize a long-standing problem that many women said plagues Britain and could no longer be ignored. That at home or in public spaces, many women are not safe. Dead women is just one of those things. Jess Phillips, a labor lawmaker, said in Parliament on Thursday, lamenting the prevalence of violence against women in the country. During the parliamentary session, an annual commemoration of International Women's Day, Ms. Phillips read out the names of 118 women who were killed over the past year. Damn. In cases in which a man was convicted or charged in the case. Killed women are not vanishingly rare. Killed women are common, she said. Mr. Cousins had been arrested earlier this week in Kent, 80 miles southeast of London, along with a woman in her 30s who was detained on suspicion of assisting an offender. She has since been released. Mr. Cousins was being held on suspicion of indecent exposure in a separate episode that appears to have occurred days before Miss Everard's disappearance. Damn. The regulatory body overseeing the police is investigating whether two officers acted appropriately in handling that case. Ms. Everard left a friend's house in the Clapham neighborhood in South London around 9 p.m. on March 3rd, and she was last seen on CCTV camera at 9:30 p.m. in a residential area. The journey home should have taken her around 50 minutes. The remains of a body were discovered in Kent by the police on Wednesday, dimming hopes that Ms. Everard would be found alive. Sarah was bright and beautiful, a wonderful daughter and sister, her family said on Thursday. She was kind and thoughtful, caring and dependable, they added, describing her as a shining example to us all. The testimonies, hold on, let me, you know, I have the link. I have the link of this article in the video description box, but I'm going to post it on the chat anyway. And I also have a link to the video that I just played in the video description box. So just in case anyone you are interested in reading this this article on your own. Let me see. I'm going to continue reading the article. The testimonies from women recounting their experiences of assault, harassment in public spaces, and walking the streets in fear were met with widespread support by lawmakers in Parliament on Thursday. How often have we said to a friend on the way home, "Be safe, text me when you get home," said Angela Crawley from the Scottish National Party. The fear alone should tell us we have a problem. Rosie Duffield, a Labour Party lawmaker, said the testimonies of harassment circulating on social media showed that women had enough. We are tired of having to risk assess every ordinary everyday action every hour of every day of our lives, she said. Although the police authorities said this week that abductions in London were rare, Mayor Sadiq Khan acknowledged on Friday that the British capital streets were not safe enough for women. He also called on men to be aware of the imbalance between women's experiences and theirs. That's funny, because as far as I know it, men are usually the victims of murder more often than women. I know it's definitely like that in the United States, and I would not be surprised if it's that way in England. Okay, in a lot of first world developed nations, men are more often the victims of murder than women. So, I mean, I'm not down to the fact that there's a danger when it comes to females being outside in public, especially at a certain time of day. I mean, come on now. Females do happen to be the weaker sex, therefore they're most likely to be targeted. So I'm not doubting that. But to say that there's an imbalance between men's experiences and theirs, as if men are completely safe, come on now. But moving on. If you're a woman or a girl, your experiences of our city in any public space, whether it's in the workplace, on the streets, on public transport, is very different to if you are a man or a boy, Mr. Khan said in LBC radio. The murder of Ms. Everard is likely to add urgency to a plan aimed at tackling violence against women and girls that Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government said it would unveil later this year. According to End Violence Against Women, a coalition of researchers and organizations, more than 500,000 women are sexually assaulted every year in Britain. Jeez, woo, damn. God, if this is true, that's a whole lot. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. That is bad. Hold on. Damn. 500,000 females are sexually assaulted every year in Great Britain. Every year? Damn. That's bad. Something got to change with that. Going on with the article. 1 in 5 women will be subjected to sexual assault during her lifetime, according to national statistics. Woo! It's the threat, the fear of something happening to you, said Mandu Reid, the leader of Britain's Equality Party. Every single girl and woman has to live this with every single day in their lives. The arrest of Mr. Cousins, who joined the Metropolitan Police in 2018 and had been with a unit called the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command since last year, has also added a sense of anger and insecurity. On Friday, the Metropolitan Police faced even greater scrutiny after the police watchdog announced that it was investigating whether 2 officers had responded appropriately to the allegation of indecent exposure against him. Ooh. The alleged incident occurred on February 28th at a fast food restaurant in South London. The police watchdog said 3 days before Ms. Everard disappeared. It remains unclear why Mr. Cousins was not suspended the following incident. Damn. If that had been followed up, he would have been suspended from duty, said Mick Neville, a former chief detective inspector at the Metropolitan Police. Officers must have treated this as a minor matter, not thinking that he was a police officer. And in hindsight, it took tragic proportions. Woo! That's a goddamn lie. This was nothing more than what we call in the United States the blue shield of silence. That's it. The person who was the police officer who was accused of murdering Sarah Everard, like the article stated, was charged with the prior crime 3 days before Sarah Everard was missing, which was decent exposure at a public place. And when he was charged for it, and when 2 police officers was hired to investigate the case, he was released shortly afterwards. Thus, the police who investigated this case did not do, or is being investigated to see if they did a thorough investigation of Mr. Cousins. Because if a police officer committed that crime, like the article says, he should have been suspended from duty. But the excuse of the police officers was that they must not have known that this person who was charged with indecent exposure was a police officer. But that's bullshit, because I know as far as in the United States, and I'm sure in England they do the same thing, that whenever someone gets arrested and charged for a crime, of course, the police have to run a background search to see if this person have any open warrants for any other crimes, or if they have been previously arrested for any other crimes or the same crimes, in order to see if there's a pattern going there. And among doing that research, you'll get that person's, of course, their address or their addresses, and you'll also get their employment history, what they've done for a living. And from that, and if the police officers have done a proper background search, they would have known that this guy was a police officer. And I'm sure they have done that. I'm sure they've done that. It's just that they gave him a slap on the wrist, not knowing that this same officer that they just gave a slap on the wrist for would be charged for a bigger crime. you know. But going on, Mr. Cousins or Cousins, well, his last name is spelled Couzens, so it could be Cousins or Cousins. I'll say Cousins. So Mr. Cousins worked on the day of Ms. Everard's disappearance, but was off duty when she was last seen. In a separate but related dispute, the organizers of a vigil for Ms. Everard that was planned for Saturday said that the Metropolitan Police had called the gathering unlawful because of coronavirus restrictions and that it had threatened to fine them. A court in London ruled on Friday that the gathering could be deemed unlawful by the authorities. Our message to those who were looking to attend the vigils in London this weekend, including at Clapham Common, is stay at home or find a lawful, safer way to express your views, Commander Catherine Roper of the Metropolitan Police said. Home Secretary Priti Patel, who oversees the country's police forces, sought to contain mounting criticism against the Metropolitan Police on Friday. If you are feeling angry or worried, please try to remember that tens of thousands of police officers are equally sickened by what has happened. Yeah, she's trying to pacify the people by making that statement. Going on, and there are currently hundreds of dedicated police officers working night and day to bring the perpetrator to justice, Ms. Patel wrote in the Sun newspaper. Nick Fgrave, an assistant commissioner at the Metropolitan Police, said, "I know that the public feel deeply hurt and angry, and I speak on behalf of all my colleagues when I say that we too are horrified." All right. Now I'm done. Okay. So as previously stated, it's a police officer who is accused and is being charged of the murder of this female, Sarah Everard, that is making national headlines all throughout England, and is also making headlines here in America. And like I said before, what's going on with this case is that this case, which is really an issue of police abusing their authority and murdering, most likely, an unarmed civilian, they're taking that and the media is utilizing that to make it seem as if this is one more reason why the rights of women is being abused. So it's turning into a gender war. The media is taking this case, which is what I said before, an abuse of power by the police, and it's being converted into a gender war, into a war against women's rights. It's being taken to look at women's victimization. Therefore, it shows that feminism isn't dead. All right. And you have to realize this. Even some people might look at this and say, well, this happened in England, not in America. This is America. What does this have to do with America? I mean, common sense would tell you that the United States of America and Great Britain are two countries that have a profound influence over each other. So whatever big thing happens in America has an influence in England, and likewise, whatever big thing happens in England have an influence in America. So mind you, something like that in England is going to have an effect in America. And don't be surprised if this gets converted into a sort of Me Too movement, in which the Me Too movement will try to utilize this story as a way to incorporate, quote unquote, physical abuse against females as a part of the Me Too movement. Because, you know, the Me Too movement traditionally, since its inception, is all about supposedly fighting against sex crimes against females. Now, once again, don't be surprised if the Me Too movement take this story and utilize that to add on to try to add on to more things within the Me Too movement to try to make it seem, you know, to try to incorporate physical abuse or violence against women onto the Me Too movement. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying the Me Too movement shouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is that this goes to show you that feminism isn't dead. All right? Feminism is strong and alive. So for people within the sphere who is sitting there hoping that a bill in the United States that have not been passed and became law yet would destroy feminism? Nah. No. That's not going to happen, bro. Feminism is alive and well. Yeah, cooling. Yeah. Cooling. Yeah, another defund the police type gender war, and I also see a abolish the police angle as well. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if people take that story and try to rehash this defund the police stuff. Yeah. But before I go on, I would like to say rest in peace to Sarah Everard, and my condolences to her family members and close friends, because, you know, the death of anybody who have been murdered in cold blood like that is a terrible thing. But like I said, the thing is, this situation is being exacerbated and being exacerbated into a women's issue instead of what it really is, a police versus civilian issue. That's what it is, a police versus a civilian issue. But you guys, you know, should stay tuned and continue to pay attention to this story as it progresses. And let's see what happens in the case of this police officer who is accused of murdering this female. Will the courts give him another slap? Will the courts give him a slap on the wrist? Will he be found not guilty of this crime? Because if he's found not guilty, if he is found not guilty of this crime, while there is evidence proving that he did it, then don't be surprised if you see a big ass riot in England. You guys did not forget that back in, I think, 2012, 2013, or back in 2010, around the early 2010s, remember there was a big riot in England? A big riot against police brutality in England, where so many of the so-called blacks in England was rioting and looting. Yeah, those guys in England, when they riot, boy. E-Man Perry, what's going on, E-Man Perry? What's up? Yeah. Feminism is strong and alive, and a certain bill that's only being read through Congress is not going to destroy or kill feminism. It's not. What a lot of you so-called black males in the black manosphere, what you guys have to realize that in order to fight feminism, we all have to come together and be active politically in order to fight this, to fight feminism, or not even feminism, but to fight the unfairness that happened as a result of feminism. You know, because feminism in its purity, I'm talking about feminism in its purity. When you go back to the first wave of feminism, led by a female named Elizabeth Cady Stanton, right? And if you also go to the original tenets of the second wave of feminism, it was to give females rights in certain parts of the establishment. Like, for example, voting rights, equal rights to get the same education as a man, or equal rights for women to get the same education as a man, for females to have reproductive rights, for females to have equal employment rights. These things won't go away. I don't see these things go away. What's going on, Jersey Hammer? What's up? Jersey Hammer says, hell of a lot easier to riot when the ground level cops are armed with only billy clubs. That is true. That is true, Jersey Hammer. That is true. That is true. That's a good point, but nonetheless, the people in England be rioting like a motherfucker. Yeah. But if this cop gets away and is found not guilty in a court of law, like Sir Yahoo stated, that it'll be a worse riot all up and down England. Yeah. Knowing that England have a history of rioting, looting and rioting like a motherfucker, yeah. What the Wadner says, you guys putting me on some stuff I didn't know about the UK. Thanks, Wacky. Much appreciated. No problem. You're welcome. Yeah, but going on to what I was saying, as far as the pure tenets of the first and second wave of feminism, as far as females wanting equal voting rights, equal educational opportunities, equal employment opportunities, and reproductive rights, these things won't go away, will not go away. And these things are not what are negatively impacting males. What has negatively impacted males specifically in the Western Hemisphere is the results that happened instead of the first and second wave of feminism resulting into males and females being truly treated equal by law. What the law has done, it has created an imbalance of justice, where over time females have gotten more rights than males, that the law have disproportionately or biasly go on the side of females than males. Therefore, it results as males being disadvantaged instead of the law truly operating equally. And the part that we should play as males, or the manosphere, is that we should fight and be active to create a counterbalance to make sure that the system or the law is truly practicing equality and is truly enforcing true equality amongst both genders. That's what we can do. So to sit there and hope for some bill that have not been law yet to kill feminism, nah, it's not going to happen. And this situation with Sarah Everard's death, unfortunate death, shows you that feminism is alive and well and is strong. All right. So I guess what did Coolin said? What's up? Was it Coolin? He said, yes, this bad. What happened, and she deserves justice. But the media is attacking males, black and white. Coming to America was an emasculation movie. Then they are going after Cuomo as well. Yeah. That's the problem. The media is trying to utilize this as an attack on males instead of actually portraying this crime as far as Sarah Everard's death, what it really is, which is police abuse, police murder. Yes, Jersey Hammer. Yes, that's true. If you want equal rights, you have to take equal responsibility. And the manosphere, we should fight to make sure that both genders are being held responsibly equally, are being given equal accountability under the law. You know, if you're going to get, like you said, Jersey Hammer, if you want equal rights, you got to have equal responsibility. So I made a video a couple of months ago saying that that's what us as males within the manosphere, that's what we should fight for. We should fight to make sure that this system provides true accountability under the law, for that true equality is actually met. But once again, the death of this young lady in England, the unfortunate death of this young lady in England, and the type of rage that is sparking throughout England and even America and even the United States of America, shows you that feminism is alive and well. So we got to stop sitting there hoping that feminism will die and actually find a way to mobilize and organize to fight the unfair results of feminism, to fight the imbalance that feminism has caused. What did Jersey Hammer say? Jersey Hammer, you be making a lot of sense, Jersey Hammer. I like the things that you say, man. I like your way of thinking, Jersey Hammer. You be saying a lot of good stuff. That includes things like you want equal rights to play in the career market, then you should also have equal responsibility for paying bills. That's right. That's right. That's right, Jersey Hammer. That's right. But so I'll just leave you guys with that. You know, I've talked enough. You guys have a good night. I will end this broadcast. So thanks for dropping by, all you guys. Shout out to all you guys. But Yahoo, Jizzle, Coolin, New, Wadner, E-Man Perry, Jersey Hammer, and anybody else who's watching but not commenting. So you guys have a good night. Shalom.